Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, December 11th. Well, the next several days look to be kind of quiet here in the eastern part of the country with seasonably chilly conditions, dry, some sunshine each day right through the end of the work week. For the month of December so far, it's been rather warm, warmer than normal, without any snow to speak of here in the eastern part of the country. Meanwhile, around the world, it's been very cold and very stormy in much of Europe and good part of Asia. Throughout western Canada and Alaska, they've had some very cold weather. And there are certainly some big changes going on around the world, different parts of the atmosphere, different parts of the oceans we'll talk about over the next few minutes. And it certainly looks like the second half of December will be a much more stormy and colder pattern here in the central and eastern U.S. compared to the first half of the month of December. Let's take a look at some of these changes going on right now. Well, this is a temperature plot of the upper part of the atmosphere, way up there in the atmosphere, around 70 millibars, which is actually in the stratosphere. And over the last few days, there have been quite significant changes here. You can see a sudden jump in the temperature pattern and then a sudden decline here just in the last few days. This follows kind of a several-week steady downward trend in the stratosphere. And just in the last several days here, we've had quite a change. This is in the northern latitudes, so it's the upper part of the atmosphere and the upper part of the world here in the northern latitudes where there's been quite a significant change over the last several days. Well, here's an index that indicates a big change has been going on in a whole different part of the world. The first one we looked at was in the northern latitudes, way up in the atmosphere and stratosphere, about 70 millibars. This is actually what's called a SOI, a Southern Oscillation Index, of the tropical Pacific, and it's an index that is an indication of the temperature pattern change in the Pacific, the tropical Pacific. And notice in the last several days there's been a plunge into negative territory here of this particular daily SOI value. This is the daily value from December 7th on right to the current time. It's dropped significantly just in the last several days, way down into negative territory, indicating some sort of warming going on in the tropical Pacific. Not necessarily an El Nino signal, but certainly, at least on a temporary basis, a drastic change in the SOI index. This follows several days of mildly positive index values here. So again, quite a significant change going on in the tropical Pacific here, as indicated by this Southern Oscillation Index. Well, yet another index in a whole different part of the world here that we monitor quite often at the SIweather.com, called the North Atlantic Oscillation, NAO Index. This has dropped significantly itself over the last several days. You can see here in this black line here representing the current values. It was around zero. That's this line right here, the zero line, dropped into negative territory. It looks like it may kind of bounce back and forth over the next several days, but nonetheless, the North Atlantic Oscillation has also undergone some significant changes over the last several days. So here we've gone from way up in the northern latitudes, the stratosphere, way down in the tropical Pacific, and now up in the North Atlantic. All three of these have some rather significant changes just in the past week or so. Well, have any of these changes that we're noticing here had an effect on any of the models, like the GFS model? The next couple of charts I'll show come from the Raleigh Weather website, and this is actually a 5-day forecast, the next 5 days from last night's GFS ensemble run for the temperatures in the lowest part of the atmosphere, about the 850 millibar level. And basically blues represent below normal temperatures here way up in central Canada, and greens right along the east coast at or just slightly above normal temperatures here. So this is for the next 5 days from last night's GFS ensemble run. Now let's take a look ahead and see what kind of changes the GFS ensemble run is hinting at. Well, this is quite a different story for 11 to 15 days out from last night's GFS ensemble run. You can actually see there's no blue here, but there's a -2 here. So you can kind of envision this blue extending all the way to the east coast here from last night's ensemble run. Notice Canada now is above normal here in central Canada. So this is indicating some certainly some cooling here in the central and eastern part from this next 5-day period to about 11 to 15 days out. Well, another model, the European model from last night's 0Z run, also has some interesting changes in the overall temperature pattern. This happens to be the 500 millibar height anomaly map for the 7 to 10 day period. So again, this is looking out, but this also has kind of that trend of cooling here all the way into the eastern part of the country, riding right up the west coast of the U.S. and Canada. Meanwhile, notice what's going on here. Quite a bit of a positive height anomaly here. This is indicative of blocking, which sometimes that negative NAO can indicate a kind of a blocking over Greenland in the atmosphere that forces cold air down into the central and eastern part of the country. So both models are definitely indicating a difference in the temperature pattern for the second half of the month compared to the first half of the month in the central and eastern U.S., namely on the colder side. Well, how about on the stormy side? It looks like the pattern does evolve into a stormy pattern as well for the second half of the month. This is just from last night's 0Z GFS model. I just want to quickly jump ahead to next week and thereafter with not only one storm, but 2 or even 3 possibilities according to last night's 0Z GFS. This happens to be for Monday morning of next week. And here you have kind of a double barrel low. One low goes into the Great Lakes region, and then there's a secondary that forms. It very well could be rain here in the Mid-Atlantic region out of this storm, but it's a close call, and there's a strong high up here in southeastern Canada that will send down some cold air, so it's not written in stone yet. Nonetheless, I just want to point out that the storminess of this particular pattern. This is storm number 1 here, early Monday of next week. Just 2 days later, the GFS model has another storm here along the coast on Wednesday of next week. And here there is some cold air certainly involved in this particular setup here. Again, this is all in the speculation phase, but the general picture is that it definitely looks like a stormier pattern setting up for the second half of the month. And here is yet a third storm as depicted by last night's 0Z GFS model run. This happens to be for the following Saturday. So we're way out there now, just a few days before Christmas time, but here's another storm nearing the East Coast. Again, it's a battle between rain or snow. Nothing is set in stone here, but the point is the overall pattern seems to be changing to a stormier one and somewhat colder here for the central and eastern U.S. for the second half of the month, starting later this week and through next week and probably the following week, Christmas week. It looks like there may be several storms to deal with, and we will certainly continue to monitor all of that here at the SIweather.com. That's it for now. I'm the SI meteorologist, Paul Dorian.